to talk about a lot, like the when I get this, when I get this, when I get this. The thing I like about the win the day thing is you're just focusing on the day. Because one of my favorite quotes is, how you live your days is how you live your life. And so how you live your days is how you live your life. Your life is just one day at a time. And so you've got to, if you're not, I think a lot of people are willing to sacrifice shit days because they go, oh, but when I get my job, then I'll be happy. It's like, nah. You got to focus now. I think there's a thing I saw. It's like, people always say, when I get this, I'll be happy. You've got to switch it. When I'm happy, I'll get this. When I get that raise, I'll be happy. No, when you're happy and you focus on looking after yourself first, now you're going to attract that raise into your life or whatever it is. I think it's a good mentality to kind of switch.
Yeah. Most people aren't living their days. They have fear over something that's going to happen in the future, or they have anxiety over something that's happened in the past. You just got to live in the present. Like, what are you going to do today? It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. I interviewed someone who's a 6-time CrossFit Games athlete, Alethea Boone, amazing woman, lives in Sydney, and she had once shared with me that you don't want to set a world record every day. You just got to give the best you've got that day. And there's, some days you're the pigeon, some days you're the statue, some days you're just going to have things that just happen to you. But that's okay. How are you gonna go through with a chip on your shoulder and be crabby and pissed off the next day? Or are you gonna say, you know what, today is a clean slate, it's a fresh start. I'm gonna prove how badly I want it through my actions, and that starts now. Let's get after it. And I mean, it took me a long time to figure this out. I wish I would start doing this when I was 12 and 13 and 14. It was in, mid-20. It was in my sort of early to mid-20s when I realized that I was going to start getting after it for life, but I was still very lost. It's really only been in the last 5 years. I'm about to turn 40. It's really sort of mid-30s is the point when I was like, wow, I really know what it is that I'm put here on this earth to do. And even like you and I were talking before offline, and it's really only in the last 6 months that I figured out what is it that I want to do. Like, what is this life that I want to structure, and what are those things that I need to figure out? And the biggest one was that I'm sick of chopping and changing from different things. I want to do one thing for the rest of my life. And that was all in on the win the day mentality. I'm appreciating more and more this idea of concentrated effort rather than being spread too thin across a whole bunch of different things.
It's so interesting you say that, because it's just so relevant to me right now, because I just signed with a new manager. He's here today, and he's the reason I'm in the US, and he's incredible. And when our first meeting we had with him, I was like, okay, I'll sit down with my best mate, Pace, and we're like, look, we've got this brand, Byron and Pace. We do some presenting. We have a comedy podcast. We do live shows. He's a musician. Pace is a musician as well on top of that. Also, I have Driven Young program. Also, I want to be doing more speaking. And I do Empower You program, which is another company. And he's like, boys, you got to focus. Like, what's your focus on? And for me, like, maybe not because of that chat, but also by byproduct, I have gone all in on the Driven Young program, which is my biggest focus right now. Like, if you look at the podcast, I haven't done an episode for like 10 weeks, 15 weeks at the time of recording this. And that's something I'm disappointed in myself, because I promised I wouldn't do that. But at the same time, I just need to focus on my business. It's not like I'm not doing it because I'm lazy. I'm putting my time where I need to bring in revenue so I can build this brand to be way bigger. Because right now I need cash.